It's just not unmuted. I get that all the time. my son back there, he does the AV here, and my sons, and I'm always getting waved at him when I'm not turned on. So there's a reason why we have the mic on, because we are live streaming this, because there are people that didn't have the opportunity to come, so it'll be on a YouTube page. It happens to be the church website, but the church YouTube page, but it'll be on there for you to share with friends or discuss later or hear what's discussed. One of the things I want to say up front is we're all neighbors, amen? We're all neighbors. That's the great thing about it, is we can all be neighborly. Yeah, well, this is my neighbor Vinny, who lives next door to me, who was late coming in, of course, after promising me he wouldn't be. I believe you. I believe you. He was standing in the fire to wait a minute to not be on time, I guess. Anyways, what I hope to achieve here is having something that we can all come together in unity with. There's people in this county that in this district that want something for development. There's other people that want something else for development. It's kind of like politics. We're left and right on some things, and sometimes we just got to come together and see what is the best thing for the community to do. And so that's kind of my hope here, right? Is what is it? What does this community need? And so what I wanted to do was first go to the next slide, son. Is how do we come together? What is our purpose, right? How can this community come together for the common goal of preserving the quality of life, right? With the certainty of growth in the near future. Growth is coming. We've all seen that. It's moving up the 377 corridor. It's coming up 35. It's coming down from... growth is coming. And what we don't want to do is have growth that's not managed. And that's a good thing. Go to the next slide. So common unity is the bind that's what binds a community, right? Does anybody here like being mad at your neighbor? Or do you like making your neighbor mad? Nobody likes that. But, well, besides my neighbor. He likes to make me mad. No, listen, we all want to enjoy life. We all want to either raise our family there, live out our retirement years there, whatever stage of life we're in. We just want to enjoy life. And we bought out here. We came out here, some of us 15 years ago, some of us 100 years ago, some of us 5 years ago. It doesn't really make a difference, but we all came out here for the same purpose. And that was because we saw something that we appreciated, that we loved, and we want to maintain that, right? So go to the next slide, son. So my hope is that we can come together as a community to preserve the atmosphere and the beauty of the lake that anchors our community. That lake anchors our community, right? It anchors us. And ensuring responsible growth in the community surrounding Lake Roberts in Cook and northern Denton County. Now, that's a big ask. That's a really big ask. And what it takes is for each person to really buy into wanting the development to be done in a way that's benefiting everyone. One of the things that, and Jason, you want to stand up? I don't know if y'all know Jason Snuggs. Jason Snuggs is the Precinct 2 commissioner here for our district. He's our commissioner. And you just renewed your term last year, right? In January. So I'm going to tell you something right now about Jason. I've known Jason since before he became a commissioner, right? And one thing I can tell you about Jason, if you got a question, comment, or concern, if you call him, he will talk to you. You might not like what he has to say. You might not be in full agreement with it, but he'll talk to you. But more than that, he'll listen to you. And that's important. That's important. Because what Jason needs to see from us is that we're all unified in what we think we need to have happen. Right? That's the only way he can legislate or govern his base to represent us up there at the courthouse. Is that correct, Jason? Before I get going too far, do you have any opening things you'd like to address with us? And one of the rules that I have, that I hope everybody can kind of abide by.
I want one of those microphones.
No, sir. You have not earned that yet. If you don't have the microphone, you can't talk.
He don't want me to talk. Can everybody hear me?
Turn them up, son.
I'm probably louder without the microphone.
That's for the YouTube.
Okay. Like James said, I'm Commissioner Jason Snow.
Okay, turn up the volume.
Hello.
You turned it off. Why would you do that? No, it was on. Oh, you had it on mute. Okay, you got it up now?
How about now? Let's try another one. I need that microphone.
No.
How about now?
There it is. Go ahead.
How about now? It is. I'll be really brief because sometimes I can talk for 30 minutes and ramble on, but I thank everybody for being here and James inviting me and everybody being a concerned citizen. I guess there's been some things here lately that's triggered a big response around here, and that's just what happens. I've lived in the P&Z for the last 3 years, so I've enjoyed being down in this area where there's not as much going on, and I'm building up in the north part of the precinct right now, and it's super busy up there, and I really like it down here, but I want to let everybody know, like James said, I am available. I will call you back. I will always listen to your concerns. I have to follow the rules. I have to follow the letter of the law, the regulations. I took an oath to do that, and that's what I'm going to do. I will always represent everybody equally and fairly. That's what I do. I try to do the best that I can do with that. A couple things I wanted to squash before we get going on, and I'm sure I'll be answering questions as the night goes on, and I'll talk to whoever.
Are you going to get into something controversial?
No, not at all. I just want to squash a couple rumors, and they might be controversial. and being a public official, it's a sad thing. We scrutinize our public officials. I don't think it's fair, but I understand it. But there's some rumors going around that I go to the edge of the lake winery all the time and sit and drink, and we're all in cahoots and everything. I just want to squash that. I don't even drink. Very good friends in this room know that I've never drank a beer or a glass of wine in my life. I just want to squash that. I'm fair to everybody. I have to talk to developers. I have to talk to residents. I do it all equally and fairly. And another thing, I try to watch the social media stuff going on. I try not to chime in. I will never get involved in an argument going on social media. It's not because I don't care. It's not because I don't want to pass the facts on. Nothing comes good of arguing on the internet. There's been so much distruth or unfactual information going on that I couldn't even see straight the last couple of weeks, and I just try not to get involved in that. But I don't want it to, when I'm not chiming in, I don't want people to think that I don't care. It's just I don't have time to chase the social media. And Nextdoor is a terrible app. It's gotten a little better, but I dealt with it during my campaign. If you're not part of a neighborhood, you can't get in there and see what people are talking about. And it's a frustrating circumstance, like the Hemingway Ranches that Diane and Sandy are a part of. I can't see what's going on in there. And now that my address is up north, I can barely see any of the conversation going down here. So that's a frustrating thing. I feel like people don't think I care, but it is what it is. I did pass out. I hope everybody got one. I've got a bunch of extra ones if you don't. It's an editorial that I wrote for the Gainesville Daily Register 3 years ago, and it gives everybody a really good rundown of the P&Z and why it was created by the state. It talks about even how the board members are selected and appointed, down to why the state put this into place. All of the rules and regulations are on our website, the master plan for the area, the rules and regulations that the board members have to follow with each and every decision that they make, which were rewritten before I took office back in 2019. There was a large, how long did that take, Diane? Months and months and months and months. The Cook County rewrote all the subdivision regulations along with the Lake Ray Roberts P&Z regulations at that time and stricten them up and, set them forth, to be a good document for a long time. They are living documents to be changed and adjusted when we have issues, but, they're pretty solid right now. But I'm going to be here taking notes, listening to concerns. Everything will be written down, and I'm here to talk about throughout and afterwards. I'm out of cards. All my cards disappeared at the last meeting. Get with me. You can go to jasonsnugs.com. It'll take you to my open Facebook page that has my phone number and emails and everything. My email's on the county website, and it's easy to remember. My cell phone is 727-1010. I've had it for 18 years now. No, 19 years. So I'll turn it back over to James, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you, Jason. Appreciate you.
And if anybody wants one more of those, I got plenty.
So, Colton, go to the next slide. So this is the most current satellite view of Lake Ray Roberts. That's the most current satellite view of Lake Ray Roberts. Go to the next slide. That's the same size, same dimensions, everything, most current satellite view of Lake Louisville, right? You can see what happens when cities do not control, when counties do not control development. I don't know if any of y'all have been in Lake Louisville. It's not pretty. It's not a nice lake to be in. I went on the website over the last few days, or on several different websites over the last few days, and I noticed people they enjoyed fishing, they enjoyed going to the park, they enjoyed doing the trails. There's so much around this lake that people enjoy, and we want to maintain that. Let me ask Jason a yes or no question. Do you want to maintain that? Yep. Okay. Go back to the other picture. So we see Pilot Point there, and we see it kind of sprawling out and starting to grow, and then we don't see much any other growth around the lake. We just don't see it because there's lots of large farms and horse ranches and family pieces of land that have been in the family for years and years, 100-acre tracts, 200-acre tracts, 50-acre tracts. There's lots of land around there. And when developers see that, they think money. They think money. And they're going to come to your house and they're going to say, hey, I'm going to offer you all this money for your land. And it's a pretty offer. I could use the money right now. And you sell it to them, right? Well, sometimes those developers put in contingencies like, I'll buy it based on the zoning that'll come into place or whatever. Some do that, some don't. Doesn't really make a difference. But land developers are there to make money. That's their job. That's what they do for a living, right? We all agree with that. So how do we make sure that that doesn't happen? Well, Jason kind of alluded to it a minute ago. Cook County has a planning and zoning board that sits every month, second Tuesday of every month, and reviews plats that come in for zoning change from agricultural to residential primarily. We saw one a couple weeks ago that was agricultural to commercial, right? We'll see those every once in a while. People can bring whatever they want, basically, to the planning and zoning board. Can you refuse anybody to a zoning request? Can you refuse anybody wanting to bring a zoning request to the thing? He has to receive and push through all requests. So there's going to be some things that we're going to see come up. We're going to go, oh my gosh, I don't want that. We're going to see that all the time, more and more as development comes by. And it should alarm you. And you should be vocal. And you should say stuff. But what I'm hoping we can also do is have a system, a format, a foundation in place where we're all speaking with one voice, because who has the time to go to the county commissioner's court every other Monday at 10 a.m.? Not very many. Not very many. Yes, you do. Pardon me? At the courthouse in Gainesville. The county courthouse in Gainesville. Is it every 2 Mondays? Second and fourth Monday of every month. It meets. It has an agenda. Well, where's the agenda posted? It's posted on the doors of the courthouse or in the newspaper. Well, how do we know what's posted there? Let's have a place where we can all look for what's posted there. Let's have a way we can all stay informed and communicate with one another on what that looks like. Is that to me is really what we're all wanting. I don't want a big surprise coming in. I hope nobody else does too. But what I wanted to do tonight was talk about that foundation, talking about laying that thing, and then let's start talking as citizens of this community what our fears are, what we don't want to have happen, or what we want to have happen. Let's start kicking those things around so that we have an idea of where the county precinct 2 sits in the development. Gary Yost over here, Gary, could you stand up for a second? Gary Yost over here sat, how long were you on the board? 6 or 7. Long time. 6 or 7 years he sat as the chairman of the board for two or three of those, right? Yeah. And so he understands the headache, the nightmare that comes to see him. And he also knows, just as Nathan knows, or just as I know, the leeway we have in the zoning ordinances, but we also have a structure in place that if something comes through and it meets all the criteria, we have to pass it. Now, what can you do about that? You can go up to the county courthouse when it's up for vote, and you can voice your concern and your opinion. Will it change their opinion? Maybe, maybe not. But that's how our system works here. Go ahead.
It goes the same way if it comes to Commissioner's Court and they've met all the guidelines, we legally have to pass it as well. But the concerns can be taken for any future change.
Yeah, yeah. And so there's a system in place to keep, next slide. There's a system in place right now to keep that from happening in this county. Are you happy about that? Yeah. I am. But there's a system in place to keep that from happening in the county. And so let's use that system, right, to our advantage. I'm going to say one last thing, okay? And y'all got to hear my preaching now. Y'all in my church. I'm a pastor of this community. And the number one responsibility of a pastor is to bring a community together, to create unity in a community where we're all working together for common goals, where we're all working together, where love thy neighbor is practiced. And so that's my heart. That's where I'm at, is I want to see our neighborhood from one end of the county to the next. That's our neighborhood. That's our community. I want us to be together. Are we going to disagree about some things? Are we going to have some things that are going to try to divide us? Sure there are. But what do we do about it? We come together and we communicate. One of the things that I saw in last commissioners meeting, and why I got the role tonight, I saw people yelling across the room at people, and just out of a spirit of fear or hate or whatever you want to call it. And that's disappointing. That's disappointing because I'll tell you this, and I don't know most of y'all, but there's not a person in this room I don't love, and I'm going to treat you like I do, because that's what we're called to do. Right? So, Diane, you want to come up and speak?
Can I hit one thing?
Yep.
Real quick and I'll be done. I'll shut up.
No, you won't.
So somebody asked about am I on? Somebody asked about the agendas in the Commissioner's Courts. So that's very important to me that everybody knows that. Any public meeting in government is open and has to be attended by the public. Is welcome to be attended by the public, and the agendas all have to be posted by law 72 hours in advance. A lot of people want to say, oh, they're being secretive. They're not doing anything. That stuff is the law. All of our commissioners' courts meetings are, like I said, second and fourth Monday at the courthouse at 10 a.m. The agendas are posted on the website. I usually post them on my Facebook. If you hate Facebook, go to jasonsnuggs.com on Friday afternoon, and it'll be very easily for you to see. I'm going to do a better job about posting the Lake Ray Roberts agendas. I've been lacking on that because usually it's one or two items, and I failed to. No excuse. And those agendas have to be posted 72 hours in advance, and they're posted on the website as well. So every government meeting is open to the public. One thing that I pushed during my campaign was I wanted to live stream our courts, and we do now. We live stream them, and they stay on YouTube forever. So every court that we have is live streamed, and you can go back and watch it on the recording anytime. So that's something that I'm very proud of that has happened so that people can be more involved. I know it's hard as heck for people to get to the courthouse to attend the meeting at 10 o'clock, but you can, if you need to speak, you can phone in or something like that. But, you know, during court, they need to be, there's one thing that I didn't like during my campaign as well. I thought they need to be at night where people can come, but those courts need to be held where we have all of our government employees there that handle the different offices so they can be part of the court, because it's all the decision-making office for those offices. So it needs to be held during business hours, but the streaming and the ability to call in make sure that everybody is welcome to attend. So, thank you. Now I'll be quiet.
This is Diane Staley.
Do I need that? I want to thank you all for coming. This is just a blessing to me, because I've worked for this for a long, long time, and all of you all are leaders, and you lead in your special way, and that's very important. We have to have leadership. Leadership gives you an opportunity to strive for things in this community that are going to go in the right direction. And this is a very, very unique community. One thing I've learned, that when you get together, like you have talked about, there shouldn't be any screaming and yelling. You've got to be aware of your tone of voice when you're having a discussion. That is very important. Another important thing you need to think about, what is my idea for the community? Then you need to think about, is this the right idea for the community? And James, I really appreciate your organization, because I think this is going to help all of us to be on the same page and to be aware of what is going on, and we can all participate. You need to participate. You can't complain unless you participate. And all of you all have great ideas, and you have wonderful pieces of property, and this is fun. It's going to be fun to get together and accomplish this. And again, I really appreciate you all coming out tonight. Thank you.
One thing that I find important to our community is that you're active in your community, particularly at the voting box. Everybody here knows that's where your voice is heard. That's where your voice is heard. And unfortunately, we don't get to vote every day. We get to vote, every year or every 2 years, depends on what the office is. But we don't get to vote near as much as we'd like to, because my commissioner just did something I'm madder than heck at, and I want him out of office. God, get him gone! Right? But that's why they wait every 2 years, so you can cool down and have some common sense. Maybe, I don't know why they do it, but that's the way they do it. One thing I've grown a love for, Vinny, come up here. It's not Vinny. Sergeant Reynolds. Staff Sergeant. Oops, I demoted him again. Staff Sergeant Reynolds fought in Afghanistan. And Iraq.
He keeps shortchanging.
Well, because you're short, I guess. I don't know.
Smaller targets.
Apparently not. He's a disabled vet. His home is next to my home. Because he chose to be next to me, because I was there when he moved in.
Apparently my eyesight's not good.
You don't have the microphone. Anyways, he gave a part of him so that you have the right to vote. He gave a part of him so that you have the right to love your neighbor. He gave a part of him for the values and things that you enjoy in life. And I'm gonna regret that I did this to y'all.
Record this, someone.
It's being recorded. That's why I'm being very careful. I'm gonna regret that I did this, but I'm gonna give him the microphone.
Hi guys, how's everyone doing this evening? Good. Hey, thanks for coming out. I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me to see that our community is coming together for common goals, and that means a lot to me, seeing as I am a transplant here, as I think a lot of us are. And I seen something, I'm not going to say any names, but I saw something on Facebook saying, hey, why is everyone complaining? We're all transplants here. Why do we not want more? Well, I think the big thing is we all came from the small town that then turned into the big town, right? So then we don't want to live there. So we move out here, buy our pieces of ground, get our land back, get our peace of mind back. And then they want to bring the big town back to us. I don't know about you. I don't want to move again. It's a pain in the butt. And, you know, I kind of like my neighbor. The other one. But, you know, I saw something the other day when I was driving through our beautiful park over here, you know, and I'm an avid fisherman, and I was pulling my boat out of the lake. There's a sign right there, and it says, look on your boat for zebra mussels, right? Now, why do we look on our boat for zebra mussels? Because we don't want to take invasive species from one place to another and ruin something else. But why are we going to say that that's okay for our community? They want to bring Dallas here. I don't want Dallas here. If I want to live in Dallas, I would have lived in Dallas. You know, I like having my land. I like having my cows. I like being able to ride my horse down the road. Now, when that becomes a problem, now if someone, God forbid, hits one of my animals or one of my children, jail is a lot easier than Afghanistan. But again, honestly though, I just want to thank everyone here. You know, it means a lot to me to see everyone kind of trying to figure stuff out. I didn't know what was going on. I'm not very politically inclined. I kind of like keeping to myself, as I think most of us do. But you know, when people come knocking on our doorstep, and you know, as a community, we come together, and it's amazing. So thank you.
Don't listen to a word he said. He's all just, I'm teasing. So I'd like to open this up to anybody that'd like to speak about something in their heart, in their mind, or something that they'd like to see. Put your hand down, KD. I'm teasing with you, KD. You want to speak? Come on up.
No, I speak from back here.
No, you got to have a microphone.
No, I had you mentioned something, Jason, that, can y'all hear me?
It doesn't have to do with that. It has to do with the live stream.
Thank you, sir. Jason, in your first or second presentation, that you met during the day, because how many people are in that group within the governmental body that attend that meeting during the day? Well, there's 69 of us here. So if it was taken if you could at an evening meeting, would that not allow other people to come that couldn't come during the day? Here, Jason. I'll share.
The meetings that directly affect the Lake Ray Roberts are at night. The meetings for Lake Ray Roberts area are at night. Is that one working?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, the P&Z meetings are at night. So, the commissioner's court, it would take the whole court changing it to be at night. But you know, sometimes it's two departments. It could be all departments. You know, during the day, it's just the inner workings of the government is easier for those meetings to be during the day, and it's hard to see that from the outside. But I see that when we have our meetings. I talked about that during my campaign, but it just works. Now, my mother was on Gainesville City Council for 15 years. They met at night, empty room most of the time too. So it's catch-22. If people wanted to see it at night and they brought enough to me, I would take it to the court. So, but the ones that directly affects this room are at night.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Everything directs every decision that the county affects, but the ones that just specifically for tonight are held at night. So
I got a question. What is needed for, say, if we wanted to start a petition for whatever goal we have, what is needed for the court to take that into consideration?
however you wanted to handle that, if
How many signatures do you guys look for?
it doesn't matter. It would need to be, so the regs were increased 4 years ago. Yeah, 4 years ago, and it didn't take anything from anybody down here putting a petition together or anything to start that process. But if there's some things that people want to see changed, we would just have to do it. I don't care if it's 100 people or 10 people. I would look at it to have it changed. That doesn't matter to me. I don't need it to be huge numbers, but I think anything that comes from a meeting like this that people want to change, we can look at it. And any changes are gonna go through the P&Z board first. So that's one thing. Any decision that comes to Commissioners Court goes through the P&Z board. So me and Nathan talked about that the other day about there are some flaws right now and some loopholes and some things that have arose that need to be looked at and changed, and we're talking about them having a workshop to go through and make some notes to bring to us to change the overall regulations. So
my name is Jerome Kaplinger. I actually live in Grayson County, near Lake Ray Roberts, and I was looking at these requirements that say that lot size has to be 2.5 acres within 5,000 feet of the lake, and we just had a couple of areas that were rezoned from agricultural to residential, just near us, and I'm pretty sure that some of those lots were going to be 1 acre lots. So they were going to be 1 to 3 acres. So is Grayson County different in that regard? Okay. All right.
They have their own P&Z.
Right. Okay. All right. Just clarification. Thank you.
Something that, just to follow up on what you just said, Jason has repeatedly told me many times, we have the most stringent rules in the state of Texas for planning and zoning in the county. He keeps telling me that.
Could you go over, for a lot of people that don't understand possibly how this works? It goes to the P&Z and then it goes to Jason. When it gets through you and it goes to Jason, basically that's the last stage. Once they dot their I's and cross their T's, it sounds to me like there's no more input.
No, there is.
Okay.
Yeah. So for most times when a property gets replatted to, let's say, 2.5, 5 acres, whatever acreage, and it becomes a subdivision, okay, the Planning and Zoning Board has to approve that subdivision for it to go to the county. Can the county take that up without it being approved? We could.
But we don't.
Okay, but you see what I'm saying? They could, right? So we look at everything and we send it with an approval or non-approval, approval or denial of that zoning request goes to the county, and they take it from there. I would say the majority of the time, or maybe all the time that you know of, is the denial is held up, so it doesn't go through the courts. Once an approval goes through the Planning and Zoning Commission into the Commissioner's Court and gets approved, they then have to go through the subdivision department at the county, which then has specifics of things that they have to maintain in order to build. So, yeah, there's one more process that they have to go through. Here's the problem that we have. Nathan, I don't know if you want to speak to this. You want to speak to the special use? Okay. Thanks, man. There are places in town that are operating a business with high volume traffic that aren't under a special use, that don't have a special use permit. That's a problem. That's a problem for maybe the next door neighbor, maybe the people down the street that are getting the traffic. That people have to come to the Planning and Zoning Board, I believe, for a special use permit for that to happen. For instance, and I'm going to use this just because it's fresh on everybody's mind, you can have a vineyard in agricultural zoning. You can make the wine in the agricultural zoning, I believe, is that correct? But if you want to have wine tasting or you want to sell your wine, it needs a special use permit. And there are places that may not have that. And so one of the concerns that I know Nathan and I have spoke about is who's, for the better lack of any words, policing the district? Who's policing the precinct? Who's policing the county? Right? Well, who's the best person to find out that there's something going? It's you. And so one of the reasons why I wanted to have a central place, the Facebook page or on Nextdoor app, is so that you can ask these questions, and somebody in this room that happens to be a commissioner happens to be on that group. And he can see those things. He can post his agendas on there. He's on there for a purpose to keep you informed, but also if you have a situation or a problem, he's going to see it and he's going to want to know about it. Because, listen, there's things that go on in the county that I call them about, hey, why are you allowing this? I didn't know anything about it. Well, you do now. Right? And 2 weeks from today, I might come to them and say, what did you do about it? What are you doing about it? But I'm going to press him. I'm going to keep him on his toes. It wouldn't be fair of me not to. It wouldn't be fair of me not to. Anybody else? It is your job. You get paid all 12 cents for. You could just say your name, please.
Hello, my name is Michael Wykrant. My wife and I live on the west side of the lake on Switzer Road, which would be northern Denton County. I have a question, then I have a scary story. My question is, being in northern Denton County, is that part of your court? So it's a separate court. So the lake has different courts. So we're not all one. So we would need how many groups then to police the whole lake? And then the only other... So we could have two different policies going. So the scary story is, several years ago, I received a letter from Denton County Planning and Zoning. Apparently, in my block, Switzer Road, there's several houses up and down. I was the only one to receive that letter, because if somebody is applying for some type of approval, if you're within a certain amount of feet, I understand, which is very small, very small. So potentially one person would only receive that notice that that person near you is going to want to do something and seeking special requirements from the court. So luckily I received it, and I said, gosh, you know, they have a request in, and she wanted to build several houses on her property and convert it to high density. High density. So I went up and down and talked to some of the neighbors, and virtually nobody wanted high density. So we got together the neighbors, and we put together letters with our expressing our desires, and presented them to the court, and then also appeared in court. And that's another thing. They can have these things, as far as I know, you'd be the best judge of that, but if they go up for a hearing and we have our group there and we're stating that we don't want this high density, well, they could go back and then come back again, and if you're not aware of it, they could be petitioning again. There's also a subdivision near us that early on they were supposed to have, what was it, 3 to 5 acres, and now they're talking 1 acre lots. You know, and it just switches, and it's crazy how things can get by. The citizenry can't be at every meeting, and they can come back, their attorneys can come back and come back and come back and until nobody's there, and then, you know, lay their case and, you know, maybe even win it. So that's a problem for everybody.
Let me address that real quick. That's the purpose for this meeting. What you had happen to you, one person finding out about something that's happened that's going to affect many people, that's why we need to be organized and have a common place that people can go to, that they're seeing the agendas, or they're seeing, hey, you know, my neighbor ate you know, way down here, got a notice that's going to affect me, and now it's on a website. Now it's somewhere on a community forum, a community page, where you can now see it, and there can be discussion about it for 2 or 3 days, and you can decide if you want to go up to the planning and zoning and meeting. You can decide if you want to go voice your concerns about that. You might want to voice your concerns about something that's happening a half mile away from you, but it's still going to affect you because you realize how it's going to change in your place. So that's the whole reason of having a place here that is formed, unified together, to where you can, through social media, see what's happening in your neighborhood. See what's happening in the neighborhood next to you. I say this neighborhood, you know, some of you have 100 acres. That's a neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? You have land that might be affected a half mile away. Did you want to say something?
I just want to address that. I'm glad you brought that up, sir. So that anytime a special use permit or a zoning change or anything like that is heard in the commissioner's court, there is a public posting required by law 15 days in advance. It goes into the weekly news because it's about the only public publication that a lot of people get. It goes, and then it's posted at the courthouse. So that's one thing that I need to do to make sure is that gets posted on this new Facebook group for those. The 200 feet rule, that's a state law that was, or not a law, these are statute. That was a state statute set up for these zoning commissions, but they also set up that you have to do the legal posting 15 days in advance. So it's a perfect example of that this week. When everybody came to the meeting last Tuesday night, the agenda that went out early Thursday was wrong. We have a new judge's secretary, and she put everything from that meeting onto the commissioner's court agenda for the following Monday, and some people saw it. Well, then that got changed and pulled down because she was unaware of the fact that those things had to go for public hearing. So that's what happened with that. It was hard for me to relay that on Nextdoor and everything, but that's what happened. We couldn't hear those because it didn't go out for public notice to give everybody enough time to get there. And that would be sneaky. Here at Tuesday, Monday morning, it's on the agenda before anybody has time to come talk to us. So that was a very good point. So,
and if we're organized and we have a common source to go to, if we're organized to have a common source to go to, and you can't make the commissioner's court, I can. I don't mind talking. I don't know if y'all knew that. I don't mind saying what my community wants to do, and here's evidence by this if you care to go look at it, but let me give you the Reader's Digest version. They don't want it. Or they want it with these stipulations. I mean, there's all kinds of things that we can do as a group unified. Unified. You might not like every decision that comes collectively together, but you got to stay unified. You got to stay unified. Does anybody else have a comment? Oh.
Yeah, you have to stay unified, but these P&Z meetings are really, really important, and we have to show up. Yes. We have to be a strong, concrete voice, have good facts why none of you all want a special permitted to build whatever in the area. And your voice to these gentlemen on the P&Z board is vitally important, because that's only an idea that they are taking to the commissioner's court. It is not it's not their final decision. The commissioner's court is. So when the commissioner's court has how many are on the P&Z board, and everybody on the P&Z board is against what is trying to go in because of you all, then it's going to influence the county commissioners. And let me tell you something, you guys, they are tough. They are really tough. Sometimes they don't even look at you when you talk. But you have to watch your words, you have to be concrete with your ideas, and you have to go in there with a positive attitude that we're going to win this. But you have to be at the P&Z meetings. And in our little section on Lone Oak and Hemming, I'll call 2 neighbors, and then that neighbor will call 2 neighbors, then that neighbor will call 2 neighbors, and of course they're all gonna. Yes, they're there's.
People know what I'm talking about.
They're all gonna be on Facebook now. I was never on Facebook, but I am now, and so they're all gonna be on Facebook. So you all will all know because of you, James, what's going on in this neighborhood.
I hate social media. Let me get to you real quick.
I just want to say that I thank you. Thank you. If it hadn't been for you, I wouldn't have known they were going to try to build a subdivision on the back of my property. I mean, that was what, 2 weeks ago? I mean, I was absolutely shocked because we didn't know. So if we will know, we can certainly do something about it.
That's the goal.
Okay? Mine goes down to Union Grove, but I lease with another person the Union Grove property on that side. It goes right to the edge of
I
it.
received notice. Vinny, my next door neighbor, did.
Yeah. But if we know, you know, I mean, I was totally shocked, you know? So now, if we know where we're supposed to look, we can find out. But has any decision been made since the last weekend on that subdivision?
No, so right now, that subdivision you're talking about, the zoning request got denied. And so when a zoning, and you mentioned this too, when a zoning request gets denied, they have a 6-week waiting period before they can bring it up again. Excuse me, 6 months. Thank you for correcting me.
So I have a couple questions. So you mentioned, both of you guys mentioned that if they meet all the requirements, by law you have to approve it. So our voice really doesn't count.
No, there's things within the zoning ordinance that require, you can't go and say, I want 2.5 acre lots next to everything that around it that's 50, 100, 200 acres. Like the zoning board has the what do you call it? What's my word I'm looking for?
Yeah.
Yeah. Compatibility with what the existing land use around it is.
Right, because we need to really pay attention, because if you go out, look on Zillow, you can see that there's a lot of these large acreages going up for sale. They're advertising as light industrial, commercial, residential, heavy.
That's right.
It's all over our neighborhoods.
And they should be pulled down.
It's going up everywhere.
Yeah.
And so if these people come in, I mean, I live on Hemming. Down the end of my street, there's signs on both ends of my street that say commercial, industrial, and I'm like, so we're advertising and selling up our land for purposes of the growth that we're fighting for against. So it's kind of, yeah, but and the homeowners or whatever. Right, and we can't control people selling their land, but the thing about it is if it meets some of the criteria, a lot of it is going to start getting approved, and rightly so. I mean, the people have that right to do that. If they buy that land, they have the right to go and try to do what they want to do with it.
Understand this, that part of the zoning, there's a master plan that specifies which areas are commercial, and there's not very many.
So why do we have land that's got signs up that say for commercial, for sale?
I think.
I'm going to say on that, the realtors aren't, they don't know, they're not educated about the zoning. So the zoning is so rare, you'll read my thing, there's 12 spots and there's 1,000 precincts in Texas. 12 of these, so people just don't know about it.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Hang on.
So the realtors are the same reason that Walmart can sell whatever they want, even though that it doesn't meet legal, right? There are plenty of things, and I'm a plumber, so there are plenty of things like toilet valves that are underwater that are illegal, but Walmart can sell them. And then everybody buys them, puts them in, and they cause problems. So same thing, the realtor's what's causing the problem there. But there is a comprehensive plan, like he said. And you can go on the county website and read the comprehensive plan. It pretty much lays out everything. So it's real knowledgeable. Go on the, on the Cook County website, and then you go under ordinances, and then it comprehensive plan, and then our zoning regs or whatever. So
We'll post a link on that Facebook page to the comprehensive plan.
Which Facebook?
It's Lake Ray Roberts Community. Oh, there, I knew it was somebody. Come on, Amy, you can do it.
I'm just wondering, what is the website? Is it the county website where we find out about the P&Z meetings and the agendas?
So those are posted on the county website as well, right? But what we want to do is have it where we can post it, let everybody that's on this Facebook page, anybody that's on the Nextdoor app, it be also posted there, so they don't have to go all over to try to find something. Okay. It's not easy navigating the county website. I think it was built back in 1938.
I have a question. For these developers coming in and buying up the land and then get approval to build these subdivisions, so what are the guidelines that they have to follow as far as the procedures and all the stuff, infrastructure they have to put in? What are those?
Well, no, but hang on, Jason. You need to address the infrastructure question.
Well, and I wouldn't be a smart aleck by saying that, but I mean, our subdivision guidelines are very strict, and we have gone and made changes. The subdivision guidelines went in the same time as the new P&Z regs in 2019, and that's all I do is subdivisions. I have 2,500 homes going in on the west side of 35. I'm working 30 subdivisions right now, and none of them are in the P&Z. I scare people away from the P&Z every day. That's something that y'all can't see me doing. I get calls from developers every single day, and I scare them away from the P&Z just about every time. The relentless ones are coming. So our subdivision guidelines are super strict. Like, they have to have paved roads. The infrastructure, the reason everybody's coming to Precinct 2 is because we have water. Counties don't provide infrastructure. We don't provide sewer. We don't provide water, but we have private water companies in Precinct 2. But the guidelines for subdivisions, I don't even know where to start on that. It's very strict. They have to have their own set of engineering, their own water study plans, impact study plans for their neighbors. We hire outside engineers to double check everything. Everything's double engineered. It's from the time somebody starts on a subdivision, it's anywhere from 6 months to a year before it's approved, before they start breaking ground. So if a subdivision, I'll just use the P&Z because that's why we're here. If a subdivision is rezoned from ag to residential in the P&Z, and they advise it up, and that's one thing with the P&Z board, they are an advisory committee. That's the one word we keep missing. When they advise it to be passed, and we pass it because they've met all their requirements and we have to pass it, it turns into a preliminary subdivision application at that time, and it goes through our strict process and begins there, and it can take 6 months to a year. I've had some take a year and a half by the time people get everything together. So I'm very proud of our subdivision.
I've noticed some of these new subdivisions going in, like they're putting cement roads in.
Right.
Is that a requirement now?
So
That's what I was wanting you to speak to.
Okay. Our guidelines are chip seal road, which I want to change that. But Texas law states you can't make things just crazy because you're not allowed to make things so hard where the developers can't do something. I mean, there's laws that we're following up on top of us too. But I've been pushing for concrete. I have the right to accept a road or not accept a road. So I've been telling them, if you want it to be a county road, it's concrete. And a lot of the land around here is more conducive to concrete, and they can do concrete for a little bit less, just a little bit more money than chip seal, and I get a 30-year road instead of depending on how much it rains or freezes, a 3 to 7 year road, you know, so.
Because I know in Precinct 2, y'all probably have more roads than any of the other precincts. Yeah. And county, y'all can't maintain what we have now. I mean, that's why I'm very strict on whether I'm going to accept one or not. And also, in these subdivisions,
just a couple of questions. We all talked about not being able to be at 10 o'clock. Some people, because they work, Jason. Letter writing, that's acceptable, correct? So send your letters. When you see something come in, send your letters. You maybe aren't there in person, but you can send letters.
Blow my phone up. I've been advertising myself on the other for 5 years. Call me, email
I have one more.
Get your opinion. Get mad at my phone.
I just had,
Now, there are some things
right. So you also talked about something else, and I'd like to touch on that, and that's water. Water's a big issue, especially in Mountain Springs. So Mountain Springs community, one of our neighbors was going to put in only about 8 houses, and we went up to the water board, and we talked to the water board about putting in a subdivision in our neighborhood, because quite frankly, our water's been compromised with all the new houses that have been coming in anyways, our water pressure. We started out 5 years ago with a sprinkler system that reached all of our grass. And now half of our grass is dying because our water pressure is low. And that being said, when we did go up to Mountain Springs Water and talk to them about it, they did say that they could maybe impact about 500 more homes in the area, which is not very many. So that was my second thing I wanted to address. And the third and final thing was, you asked about concerns, and a lot of people are talking about growth. One of my main concerns about Lake Ray Roberts is pollution. And that's a really big thing. And I don't know if there's any environmental groups in the area, but I know there's groups like SOAR and like for Keep Lake Tahoe Blue. There's TRPAs, things like that. I don't know if maybe people would be interested in finding out if there is an environmental group that can keep this lake and preserve it from the pollution that adding all these communities and these commercial things coming in would impact.
Colton, go back to that Lake Louisville slide.
The pollution.
If you look at the right-hand finger that's going up into Little Elm in that area, that is surface pollution into that water. That's Lake Louisville. That's surface pollution into that water. That's exactly what Mary's talking about. Go to the Lake Ray Roberts. We don't have that yet. And I'm telling you right now, until Jason kicks me off the Planning and Zoning Board, I'm going to make sure to do my level best to make sure we don't have stuff like that. I don't even have to ask Nathan that question because I know Nathan's got the same heart. I know most of the people on the Planning and Zoning Board do. They want to preserve the community just like you do. We have to live here. We absolutely have to live here. Go ahead, Jason. I'm sorry.
The number one reason why the state allowed this is to protect the lake. It's not for property values. It's not for everybody to have their own private little area. It is for the lake. That's what it's for. So that is a concern. As far as what the water companies can and cannot do, they're private companies. That's none of my business. So whenever they tell somebody they're done, they're done, you know.
Is actually to you. It's all right. Don't panic. Don't panic. Don't panic. No, I was just concerned if there's any conflict of interest with you hosting. Let me finish my sentence. With you hosting and organizing this meeting and your seat on the P&Z board.
Thank you so much for asking that question. I love that question because I'll give up my seat on the P&Z board to not have a voice in my community. Well, you seem like okay. Very positive. I do. And Nathan and I both talked to Jason about it. Is there any conflict of interest? No, I have the right as a citizen, and you should have people on the board that kind of reflect your values. And so I hope that you see that's an important thing.
That's exactly what I was seeing.
Yep.
I just wanted to make sure that there was.
Yep.
That was brought up to me through multiple emails this week, and I checked with the county attorney. He's on his private time acting as his own person, and there's nothing wrong with that.
And I will tell you this. I will tell you this. I have voted for stuff that I didn't like voting for. Okay? Somebody else back here wanted to had something? Oh, there it was. I knew I saw something.
Nathan, I actually have an issue with what you're saying about realtors. I am a realtor. I have been in this area for 5 years. I have a very vested interest in this community. A number of you have been to my properties. I raise alpacas. I live in the ranch. You know what? 25 years ago, everybody bitched about the ranch, right? Did you all bitch about the ranch? I'm sure you did. I raise alpacas. You come to my house, you see my alpacas, you buy things at the Valley View fairs, etc. Right? Okay. If your neighbor comes to me and says, I want to sell my property, I, as a Texas realtor, one of the most regulated industries in this state, I have a fiduciary responsibility to give your neighbor, I'm sorry, I'm using you as this his neighbor. I am his neighbor. Okay, sorry. I have a responsibility to do everything I can for you to get the best price for your property if you choose to sell. So please be very cautious when you criticize my industry for doing things that you ask us to do. That's my first point. Second, Jason. I work a lot in Collin County. I work some in Grayson County. In Collin County, in Q4 last year, in Salina, there were 30 some odd new developments. There was not a new development that was going on in Collin County that was not required by the county to have cement roads. What does that mean to us? It means, as Jason just said, a buttload less taxes because we don't have to maintain them the way we have to maintain chip seal. So, sorry, Jason, I'm on you. We cannot have these developments coming in without the requirements that they be beneficial to our community. They're going to happen. They're going to happen.
And that's why I'm not accepting them. So.
Well, yes and no. I spoke with Michael Piazza from the Oaks at Cheney Bend, or whatever the development is called, this afternoon. I said, Michael, did the county require you to put in a cement road? He said, no, they didn't require that. We went to the county and said, because we're going to have an upscale community, we want to put in a cement road. We, as a county, if we want to maintain if we want to keep our taxes lower, et cetera, we have to require that these developers put in the programs. How many of us know what a PID is? How many of you? Jason, PID?
I don't know the acronym for PID.
I'm sorry, Jason. Every single one of us should know. Public Improvement District. If you went to any place in Collin County, a new development is going to require a PID. The developer is going and makes an agreement with the county, with the city. They have to put in cement roads, they have to put in lights, et cetera. And you know what? All of those homeowners pay for it. It's like a 30-year cost, 25 to 30 years. But then it costs us, the rest of the county, so much less. So it's just one of those things.
So is that in an incorporated area or an unincorporated area?
Unincorporated.
For the PID?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Collin County has one.
Please do. So to address the multiple points on that one from my standpoint, and when I say realtors, I wasn't bashing anyone in particular, but some of the realtors, just like there's bad car salesmen, there's good car salesmen. Some of these realtors, if they don't research the area, they don't know this is going on. I have people come to me all the time we have to tell them, no, you can't do this. Well, I didn't know I couldn't do this on my property. I didn't know I was in the P&Z. They weren't informed of that. So there is good and bad. As far as the Piazzas, I didn't have to have the concrete streets push and shove and match with them because they came to me and said they're doing concrete. But so, I did ask. Yeah. They're not. I said I said they're not. The chip seal is the baseline requirement, but I'm not accepting them if they're in chip seal at this point. So I'm
Developments do we have in development right now that we've accepted chips that are not concrete in Cook County in your area? How many have you accepted that are not concrete roads?
0 since I've been in office.
Thank you.
So,
And
yeah.
I hope that goes forward.
Yeah.
You want to address?
So I wasn't criticizing the realtor market or the real estate market. I was making an example of if they're showing that there is you can do commercial in this area or whatever. I was just trying to make an example of why they would do such. So if they're in our P&Z, if they're putting out a placard saying, "Hey, you can do commercial here," then yeah, that's not right by any means, because our what do you call that? It's on the county. What we were talking about earlier, the master plan. It actually states where we can have commercial if you really read through there. So I wasn't criticizing you or the market in any way. I was just trying to make an example as why they would put a sign up like that, because we run into it all the time. I mean, there are things out there, like I said, that are illegal to sell. The Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners, of course. There's a valve that can go underneath the water in your toilet that can cause back siphon and suck the toilet water out of your tank. Walmart can sell them, but we can't install them. So it's kind of a catch-22, and that's what I was trying to explain. I wasn't trying to criticize anybody. So.
And if somebody's doing something wrong, please report them to the Texas Board of Realtors.
Right.
So here's what I just saw, which was great. Okay, is you had a concern about something somebody said, and you addressed it to them, and we gave them time to address it back. You're smiling, he's smiling. That's what a community is all about, right? That's what a community is about. Is we can come together, we can have a disagreement, we can talk about it, we can work it out, and we don't have to walk away hating each other.
And I'm so proud that I can tell you that I have pushed for concrete. 40 homes west of Valley View, they came to me and said they're going to be chip seal. I said, good for you. Get you a POA. I'm not accepting it. They poured concrete 2 weeks ago. So pushing them to be better.
Did anybody else have something they wanted to address?
Yes. Jason, you're talking about a more residential type area.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
We're in a country area around Lake Ray Roberts, and what I have seen, the P&Z has been very good about when a developer comes in, they make them responsible for doing the chip and seal road and maintaining that road. They have to maintain that road. P&Z has been real good about that. Now, the consensus,
That's
do
not-
what? They haven't?
That's not correct. Oh, that has nothing to do with the P&Z. Yeah.
Well, when they get your approval on development, a developer has to come in, and that's one of the requirements. Like right on Lone Oak Road, that man was supposed to maintain that road. That was in the P&Z meeting, and we were making him maintain that road.
Which road
Be
is that?
responsible on Man Road.
Man Road's a private road. So
Well, he
I
had to
don't know
maintain
anything.
it.
I don't know anything about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, he
Yeah.
had to maintain it. But a lot of people in this area have come to a consensus that they like the chip and seal road because it's more of a country feel. I mean, it's up for debate, you know, concrete or country
Chip and
feel.
seal don't have the same amount of dust. Here's the one last thing I want to address, and Jason may not like this addressing. Oh, go ahead.
If you want to continue, but I have a couple comments.
Don't make your comments because I'm gonna close that after I talk.
My name's Louis Snyder, County Road 2255 over in Mountain Springs. I came to this meeting with kind of a different concept. I thought this was going to be more about the Cook County development, not so much Lake Ray Roberts. So I had a couple of comments. I'm going to save a couple of them because they don't apply, but I do want to throw a couple of ideas out at you. Gene commented on the PID issue. That was one of them. But I have a suggestion for the group, and you're halfway there. So I've heard a lot of good things today, and appreciate everything you've done and said. At the Mountain Springs Community Center, there was a moving comment. In my humble opinion, all of Cook County needs to have a voter coalition, a group. Communities there, but this is really where we need to go, because I got news for you. Growth isn't coming; it's here, and you said it very eloquently. It's here. The best thing that we can do is manage it, and you're only going to manage it by organized group. And Lake Ray Roberts is very important. I get it. I understand. I agree. But the entire county needs to get organized. And I've heard some good things from Jason. I personally like Jason. We've met before with the ranch board. I don't know, and honestly, I don't. I'm not saying they're not, but I honestly don't know if all the commissioners know as much as he does. And well, I didn't think so. I'm trying to be polite.
This is on video, though.
But
Absolutely do.
if not, this coalition needs to change that. That's where this coalition needs to have members in every district and have a voice in every district. And because Lake Ray Roberts is important and we have our own issues here, but we need to think about the entire community and the entire county. Because I got news for you. Between 75 and 35, look at what's going on in Denton, Salina, Sanger. It's Aubrey. It's here. It's here. And the best we can do is manage it.
So, can
for y'all that do not know me, I am Chris McIntosh. I am with Edge of the Lake Vineyard. I did want to comment specifically on, I am completely in support of this community activity to come together. I really appreciate, as a change of pace, the calmness and the support that you guys are showing. But I do want to remind everybody that I not only run and operate that vineyard, I'm an active member in this community, and I live on County Road 231. So while we took quite a few assaults the other night, and we were more than willing to do that because we felt like everybody deserved the chance to say what they felt, and there was a lot of emotion in that room. But I don't want it ever to go and passed on anybody that I don't care or that I don't have skin in the game in this community. I don't have any plans of leaving here. I live on the 55 acres on the west side of that property. I raised my family there. My daughter graduated from Valley View High School. My family moved here in 1995, and I thought he'd lost his mind because he bought this quirky little property out in the middle of nowhere and moved into a double-wide trailer. And we thought, he's lost it. And then when my dad started planting vines, I again thought, the old man's finally lost it. You know, he's planting hundreds of vines based on a story his grandmother told him as he was growing up. And that, I won't waste your time with sharing the story. I think it's important anytime you guys, any of y'all, want to come by and talk to me in more detail about what our vision was, because I don't feel like we ever got a chance to truly express that night. And it was a very long night for everybody. Trust me, I felt like somebody beat me up and all I did was stand there at the end of the night. It was emotionally draining. It was very hard to watch my father be insulted by certain people. And I'm glad that this meeting is a step up from what happened the other night. And I am in complete support of that. I know there was some issues with who got a letter and who didn't. I don't make those decisions. And Jason can support that. That decision is not made by me. It's made by the regulations by the state. And that's who got the letter. Well aware that the fact that the people that were going to get a letter, and it wasn't just one person that got a letter, Because, like I said, I live on the adjacent property. I've received a letter, and Kevin received a letter, and the Corps of Engineers received a letter. Everybody that was required to receive a letter got one. You're not required for the zoning deal to receive a letter. It's within 200 feet. Anyway. Yeah.
So what?
Yeah. Anyway, my point was I was just trying to say I appreciate this community. We want nothing but good things for this community. And I would love the opportunity to explain that and further. I'm not trying to take up a bunch of your time. But thank you for allowing me to come as a resident and feel welcomed here, Debbie. Okay? I did not send out the letters. So you can take that up with the county. All right? No, I said everybody got one that was required to get one. Okay, not my department. All right.
And so, Debbie, your question needs to go to the county. Right. Why did I not get notified of this? And show me that you did try, right?
Did you
And
talk to
what I
Kathy?
want to do is I want to make sure that not only Debbie gets notified, but Diane gets notified, KD gets notified, everybody else gets notified that there's something going on that they may want to speak to, that they may want to have input in on. Did you?
So this is for the commissioner, I guess. So it's my understanding that the P&Z for Cook County is only for the lake take line, right? You don't have zoning in any other place in the county. No. So if we're looking for a countywide zoning, then we have to hit the individual cities. Anything with outside of Lake Ray Roberts that is not incorporated can do whatever they want to. Is that correct?
If you're beyond 5,000 foot from the take line, you can build a strip club next to the pig slaughterhouse right next to your next door neighbor, and they can't say a thing to you.
So that's right. That's true. So also the city I came from in our development, it was Hazlitt, and we were growing, and so the developer was required to do concrete roads within their zoning, and also to do the turn lanes coming into their subdivisions out of concrete. So I think you can get a little bit more deeper on what we're trying to do here.
Yeah, probably so. And I have a list this long of some legal issues that we need to fix, and I'm going to, that's the next thing I want to pitch to the court is require concrete. I'm not accepting if it's not concrete. They can do what they want to do up there, but I think it needs to be countywide. Just maintaining chip seals is miserable, so.
Your name again, sir? Yes. Lewis.
Oh, can I hit that one too? Well, no, that was exactly Lewis, what he just said. If this one is for the inside the 5,000 feet is what this is. The others outside of it's a whole different ballgame. And up there in the ranch, I can't think of the line. Is the ranch in the P&Z? Part of it, yeah. I know that the new subdivision right behind y'all, the Knotted Oaks, the first 66 feet was in there, so she took that out of her subdivision so that it didn't trigger, so things like that.
Here's something that was said that is kind of where I'm at. Impact. How does a new development around you impact you? If you're on well water and they're sinking wells, it impacts you. It impacts you with fire service, it impacts you with EMS service, it impacts you with the sheriff's service. It impacts you. One more person in the county impacts you. And so what I want you to understand is you're being impacted regardless where the development is. I one time had a deal at my house where I needed some sheriff officers over there, unrelated to anything that I was doing. And it took them 28 minutes before one showed up, and he couldn't do anything until another showed up. And so you have to be aware of what is in your county, right? And so we need to listen. My big overall picture, as I stated to you earlier, is I want this county to be unified. I want this county to all come together and maybe have a PID or whatever it is. Because you're being impacted. Jason doesn't have any control over the water. Jason can't bring a sewer system down your road because there's no sewer treatment plant for him to hook to. But when people start putting in a lot of septic systems around the lake, and start sucking the water table dry that you got a well into, you're going to get impacted. And that's going to happen out in the county too. And so there has to be a desire for us to not only speak here about our little corner of Cook County, but we have to start something that's going to grow to the other side. That's what I hope. We can start something that's going to grow to the other side. It's not going to change overnight. We might have to change 4 commissioners and a judge. I don't know. Who knows what will happen? But the idea is you have to stay involved. You have to stay united, and you got to be. Commitment is the biggest thing that you got to be. And so, you know, we got fired up because of the winery hotel thing like that. It brought 200 some odd people to a meeting, right? Well, theoretically, just about anything is going to impact you. And so don't be afraid to use your voice. And if you can't make the meetings, that Facebook page, you can voice your concerns. You can have discussions on there. You can do whatever you want. I am not going to regulate that, except for when you get hostile. Just don't want people getting hostile towards one another. It's just no use in it, right? So, yeah, we have a lot of what? No. Okay, I didn't know, sir. No, that's my father-in-law. He's always regulating me. But I hope that you all can get on board, and you can go tell 2 friends, and they can go tell 2 friends, and so on and so on. That we can grow into a large contingency within the county to make sure that the other side of the county doesn't become Little Elm, where the other side of the county doesn't have quarter-acre lots with 100-acre lots next to them. I mean, let's be smart and let's be united to do what I think we need to do. That's all I had.
Can I say one more thing?
For $1.
I made a joke about the other commissioners.
For $1.
Dollar? I made a joke about the other commissioners.
You want to
We
say
have
that?
a really
You wanna
good,
say that on-
yeah,
so they can hear
yeah.
you?
We have a really good commissioners court right now. The people that I can think of in the room are the Staleys and Mr. Yost over there. The commissioners court is lots better than it was a few years ago, and 7 or 8 years ago, they didn't even talk to each other or work with each other. So I was making a joke, but we have a really good commissioners court right now. So, and one of the things that helps curb some growth all around the county is that cities can't involuntary annex anymore. So that's what happened down in the Louisville area, which is so good because they just would reach out and then they can do the 0 lot lines and just suck it all up just like that. And cities don't have to follow the P&Z rules. They supersede that. So that's a good thing that Texas passed. So, but that's all I got.
So just so we're all aware that what came up last Tuesday that was not approved has got a 6-month waiting period to come through again, and I promise you they'll come through again.
They can take that directly to Commissioner's Court, can't they?
They can.
Yeah, they can bypass, but
They can, but then it goes on an agenda that you all want to know about and want to be represented with. And so that's the important part. I don't know if I've said this yet tonight, but we got to stay unified and be a community. We got to do that. We got to do that because individually they don't hear us. Collectively they do. Second and fourth Monday at 10 o'clock is the Commissioner's Court. So, thank you all so much for coming, and please, please, please pass the word and spread it out. You happy?